Today on V-Twin Motorcycles, a bike building special, Paul Yaffe creates an amazing custom for someone who knows a little about going fast.
I think it's badass.
See the whole process as Paul and his crew take the bike from paper to the road. Plus, a visit to the V-Twin Vault. And we're giving away a new Roadstar to a lucky viewer.
Hi, I'm Dave Nichols, editor of V-Twin Magazine. For the past several years, Paul Yaffe of Phoenix has been one of the most celebrated custom builders out there. Today, you'll see why. Paul's building a whole bike from start to finish, and not for just anybody. NASCAR driver Jeff Gordon will take delivery when it's done. Paul lives and breathes motorcycles, but he has a little skeleton in his closet.
I used to design women's shoes for a big company, and I got out of the fashion thing. Didn't work for me. I didn't like that end of the world, but the design stuff was cool.
So Paul changed gears and found his true calling in the world of motorcycles.
I was working at nightclubs as a bouncer and a doorman around LA, and then working on bikes during the day. And I always had bikes. I was always goofing around with my own bikes, and I'd customize my own bike. And then one of my buddies would say, you know, hey, you do that to my bike. And we used to hang out at this shop in Hollywood, and there was this guy who was a mechanic there. And I asked him, how'd you get your start? How did you learn how to do all this stuff? And he told me he came to Phoenix and went to the Motorcycle Mechanics Institute here. And next thing you knew, I was here going to Motorcycle Mechanics Institute. And the rest is history. And I stayed here and opened up my shop here, and here I am. Well, I got to remember, he wants to sit back a little bit. He wants to be able to sit back a little bit, so I'm going to have to bring some bars. You know, they're going to have to come back probably to here.
Well, this tank will still be plenty low for any kind of bar.
Sure, so.
That he they're referring to is NASCAR champion Jeff Gordon.
I was like, you know, if I was ever going to build a bike, I'm only going to do one if it's, you know, if it's right. And, you know, I threw out a couple names, and next thing I know, they're talking to Paul, and I was like, you got to be kidding me. Paul Yaffe's going to build me a bike? Heck yeah, man, I'm all for that.
You know, Jeff was always about being abstract. He didn't want it to say Jeff Gordon on the side of it and have people chasing him down the road. So I gave him a few right off, and then from these, he gave me a bunch of criticism. He likes choppers, he likes long bikes, he thinks they have a lot of attitude. I showed him a bunch of my bikes, and he kind of picked his favorite pieces of each bike. So then from those ideas, I kind of took a step back and then came up with this, which was the final concept drawing.
You do those yourself, Paul?
No, I do the one that looks like a preschooler did.
Right, and then you hand it off?
And then Jim Smith comes in and does the phenomenal work, yeah. I guess we want a little distance between the rocker box and the motor to give it that kind of chopper feel. Jeff did want something with a longer front end, so.
Paul has enlisted the help of Andy Funderburk from Stinger Customs to come in and fabricate the custom tank for the bike.
If we did 7.5, something like that, it'll leave us a couple inches here, so it looks lifted over the rocker box, so we get that kind of chopper feel to it. So.
Well, I'm gonna do this out of metal then.
I don't see any problem with doing that in metal.
Andy works old school. Give him a hammer, a sandbag, and an English wheel, and he'll bang you up a heck of a tank.
Tell us that's a good wheel.
Oh yeah, that looks good.
I think it should be thin like that.
Something similar to this?
Yep. Where are we at here? I think we probably got down to 6 just then. Yeah, we're right around 6.
Now tell me, you're wanting to roll at the top?
Yeah, I want to roll the top. I want to roll the
bottom square.
The bottom square. Just a square edge. I think is fine.
And the front, then just come to a square point.
I think the front. Actually, I think the front should roll in like this. Yeah, and then just turn into tunnel. This one definitely needs to come down a little more. Why don't I warm it up and we can tap it down a little bit and get it a little closer?
They start out as just some little pieces of metal tubing, but Paul is turning them into the seat pan for the bike.
You know, just have it roll right around here.
Yeah.
Hey Jeff, it's Paul Yaffe over at Paul Yaffe Originals. Wailing on your bike, and it occurred to me, I was doing some pretty crazy pipes today, and it occurred to me that I don't know if you ever want to ride a passenger on this bike or not. If you do, I have to make some accommodations for that. I need to know from you. So if you could call me as soon as possible and let me know yes passenger or no passenger, that would be a great help.
When we come back, the new bike really starts to take shape.
There was a store down the street from my parents' house called Jammer Cycle Products. This is mid-70s, and they had long chopper frames and big, long, 30 over springers and stuff, big sissy bars. And we used to go over there with our bicycles and try to figure out how we could get some of these things grafted to our bikes, And we used to take lawn chairs and cut the legs off of them and then stick them on our Schwinn forks and extend our forks so our bikes were sticking up in the air like that and ride down the road. And, until they'd break, till finally the lawn chairs were just aluminum, so the legs would just break and you'd eat it and crash and go do it again.
At Paul Yaffe Originals in Phoenix, they're plugging away on a cool custom chopper for NASCAR racer Jeff Gordon.
Jeff is about the same size as me, so what we're trying to do is kind of make it fit him really well. We brought this section in a little bit more. You can see on this one, it comes straight out and straight down. So this actually came out like that and then came back in. So what we did is made it more comfortable for his legs to come right through here, drop the seat a little bit, give you a little bit more center of gravity, closer to the ground a little bit. Pretty much everything on here is one-off.
Hello. Hi, Jeff. How are you? Jeff is, I probably don't even realize how big of an international celebrity he is. I get a taste of it just in his scheduling. What's your passenger situation on this bike? Is this bike just for you, and if you want to go ride and you'll take her out on the Road King, or is this something you'd want to be able to put somebody on? Right. Well, I'll be watching you this weekend. I hope you do great. All right, and I'll send you out some pictures in the next few days. All right, man. Bye. He's a huge celebrity, and I'm proud that we got chose to build him a bike. So.
The gas tank is taking shape, but Paul and Andy want to add a twist to the design, which requires a special technique.
What's this machine called? It's called a bead roller, and it's got a lot of different dies you can put in here. These dies are called tank rolls, where it'll roll 45 degrees of a radius, and then if you have two rolls that are 45 degrees of a radius, it'll make a 90-degree round edge for tank. What we do is we use them backwards to get that flared edge on the side of the tank. This will be the tank side, and this will just kind of add that little lip leading up to it.
What are you doing, sir?
Just looking at the way the fender mounts and trying to make it a little cleaner. These particular fork legs have very small fender mounts compared to stock bigger ones, so I'm trimming the fender down here. I'm gonna trim this down so everything looks like it was made for this front end, so it doesn't look like I stuck something on there that was made for something else. Tennis shoes and plasma cutters don't mix.
Oh, I'm real happy with it. I think it turned out good. Like I said, it needs a couple little more things, like the gas cap and the petcock bung. But so it still lacks maybe about an hour and a half worth of work. But yeah, I think it turned out great. I hope that Jeff likes it.
I change my mind a lot as I go along, so I don't want to show him one thing and then deliver him something completely different, but I certainly maintain creative license. I mean, it is my bike, and he did come to me to build a bike because he wanted something that I would create, so I don't want to, hey, I hate that tank, but it is what I drew for you, so I'm the first one to say, this sucks, we got to go in another direction.
So what are you looking at here, Paulie?
Just looking at the way the bike's, look at the lines of the bike. Looking at the way it's coming together, the flow of it, making sure I like everything.
When we come back, we'll find out if Paul can overcome his case of builder's block. Later, a gem from the V-Twin Vault and details on the Roadstar giveaway. Paul Yaffe is working out the final design details on the one-off custom he's building for NASCAR driver Jeff Gordon.
We got these struts that are come up here. They're going to weld to the fender. They'll bolt on here. You'll basically undo this bolt, these two side bolts, and the whole fender and strut system will come off.
It's a basic fender right now. We're going to start with this, and we're going to try to do that with it, kind of cut it off over the top of the tire right there. It's supposed to end up kind of like this little drawing here.
Can you see how they're supposed to be shaped? In like that, around like that, flat edge there, tapered all the way around. Grind, baby. This will all be one piece, it'll all flow together. I am fitting the tank, deciding where I want it located, so I can then install some tank mounts. My thought was, what if you just cut each one of these off, bolt them into the tank, and then we can just weld a bar back into them. Boy, we got a lot done in a couple days. I think we rocked on this thing.
Tank turned out the way you thought it would?
Yeah, I mean, it's different than what we had drawn, but I think that, you got to change direction sometimes or you wind up where you're going. So, yeah, I think it looks awesome. It really gives the bike some lift in the front and gives it a very chopper feeling, and I think Jeff's going to love it.
This exotic, expensive front end is designed and built by Roger Goldhammer, himself a top custom builder.
To me, that's a challenge to put that front end on a bike.
It's just choppers are usually nostalgic styled, and this front end is very, very contemporary styled. It really doesn't lend itself to traditional chopper styling, so you kind of have to change everything around a little bit so it looks like it fits in the environment of a chopper. If you put a Springer on it, it all looks, it's all nostalgic and it looks old school and everything looks great. You put a big piece of billet, contemporary, very smooth cutting lines on it and stuff like that, it kind of changes the way you have to do everything from the way back. So.
What is this?
This is some of the first parts to come in while we're getting this thing done. Look at that.
Look at that.
See? It came out pretty cool, huh?
Pretty amazing.
And they were able to do all of this from that drawing.
Yeah. This will gut you. Look at
pretty
these
slick.
things.
Yeah. Good thing you don't put your hand in your wheels when they're spinning.
That is beautiful.
Yeah, it came out pretty slick. I'm actually really happy with them.
So has Jeff seen this yet?
Well, yeah, he hasn't been out, he's racing every weekend and doing whatever Jeff Gordon does. But no, all the communication I do with him with these products is, as I think that there's significant steps to show him, I'll take a bunch of pictures, load them up on the website, and send them over to him. That way he can look at them, he can review them. Sure. He calls quite a bit. He calls me. It's always kind of fun to have the phone ring, and I look down and it says, Jeff Gordon. Hey, dude, what's up?
If it looks this good in bare metal, you can just imagine how great it will look with a pimped up paint job.
You want it to be classic or trendy. There's some things that are totally trend-setting, mold-breaking, but after you see it for 3 or 4 times, you get sick of looking at it, And there's some things that are classic that are just 20 years from now, someone will open up a garage and go, wow, that's incredible, And I like building that kind of stuff.
There's sort of a Paul Yaffe look to paint now, I noticed.
Is that right?
Who does the paint? And I mean, there are certain things that you must tell your painter to do.
Well, I'll tell you, I met this guy, Gary Crisp, and Gary had a certain style and a certain sense of flow, and then I have certain things. I'm always been into kind of muted metallics and kind of subtle paint you never get sick of looking at. All the subtle things we do, like little 3-dimensional pieces, this is a plate that we, CNC'd and then hand-shaped, welded into the tank, and it's like a 3-dimensional graphic. It looks like it's a design in the tank, but it actually, if you look at it from the side, it actually rises above the tank. That's something I've been doing on bikes for years. I kind of have this Art Deco love, and it's very kind of deco to have staircased or raised panels.
Paul always pays great attention to detail, but he's got extra motivation on this bike.
Well, this stuff's it's going to be in Jeff Gordon's headquarters. It's going to be in his fab shop. His fabulous car fab guys are going to be like, I can't have them laughing at us, right? So
all that's left is final assembly and customer pickup.
That thing is sweet.
When we come back. At his shop in Phoenix, Paul Yaffe has the painted components ready for final assembly on his latest chopper, custom built for NASCAR star Jeff Gordon.
And the bike, it looks somewhat like this.
Ready?
My name is Ron. I do pinstriping. I pinstripe all the gold leaf and silver leaf on that bike. It's kind of a old school, I call it a Mexican paint job. It's got red candy, gold leaf, real bling bling. It's got a lot of attitude.
There's a reason they've rolled the bike out into the sun and polished it. There's a NASCAR race in Phoenix this weekend.
Woo! That's a bike right there. Oh my goodness, that's beautiful. What's going on, man?
Hey. What are you doing?
See ya.
Hey,
What'd you do to yourself?
I broke some ribs the other day.
You can't build bikes doing that.
I flipped off a water slide, nothing too romantic. What do you think?
That thing is sweet. I was getting an idea of what it was going to look like, and I knew it was going to be cool. But when I got here and saw it in person, I was blown away. It absolutely blew me away, even better than I could have expected. The paint is beautiful. I love the color on it. How am I supposed to know if it's a neutral?
It's a neutral. It rolls. Yeah.
That thing is badass. Probably thinking race car driver, I want to have something that's got a ton of power. And I told him, I said, no, I don't. That'll get me in trouble. You won't find me opening it up anywhere. You know, I might pull that throttle back once or twice, taking off from the line. And other than that, you're just going to see me just chilling. Y'all want to look good, feel good, you know, maybe have a little bit of grunt there if I ever need it, but for the most part, I just want it, you know, just to be nice and calm.
That's awesome.
Good. You know, that's what a custom is all about. It fits you, you know, it's got your style, your look, and I've never done that before. I've never had a bike built just for me. There's nothing like it. I want to come back.
Levers and stuff feel okay? The brake and clutch,
Yeah.
handlebars feel all right?
Yeah, real good.
Cool. Well, now I just want to spend some time on it. That's the nicest part about it, is when you have something that's great looking and it fits you and it meets all of your fantasy expectations, and then you get on it and it's just a solid, great ride.
Great job, everybody, man. I appreciate it. This thing is absolutely gorgeous.
So, has Paul built the ultimate bike with this incredible Jeff Gordon custom?
There's always, as far as pushing the envelope or you know, the ultimate motorcycle or whatever, even if I got to build that bike, I'd come up with 100 new ideas while I was building that bike, so there'd always be another one.